Sorry, still recovering. Hola community, welcome to Blender Today Live, this recap of what's new in Blender. This week, there are 3 new Blenders that have been published. Blender 5.1 came out on Tuesday. It all went as expected. There seems to be people super happy with the release, even though there were a lot of libraries changing. Everything seems to be fine. Although there might be a 5.1.1 at some point. Usually it takes like if there's no big showstopper, maybe in 1 month. But I think 5.1, because of the quality project, the code quality project, also winter of quality project, is pretty stable. So I would say it's a good one to switch. Then on the same day, even though we didn't announce it, and until we don't have the update notifier, you're not gonna know about it, is Blender 4.5 LTS and Blender 4.2 LTS, the 0.17 or something like that. That one is already quite big. Like if we go to the blender.org website, when you can find this beautiful render, then LTS, download LTS, you can find these 2 versions that were released. So version 4.2 is already in 19.19 and only 2 bug fixes, because at this point it's so stable. Like after 19 releases, it better be stable. So that's only 2 releases. And 4.5 LTS, it's still in its early stages, only 8 corrective releases. So this one has like 19 or no, not even. He has less, 13 maybe. The previous one, I think he had more like 19 or so. Then like the more you go back in time, the more bug fixes it has. So if you're still using 4.5 LTS and you are like in 0.0, 0.1, update, because this is only bug fixes. So you're only gonna get better things. Like for example, on the latest release, shape key solo breaks and do steps. That's kind of big. Crash. Then also another crash. Linear burn not supported in painting. So wait, we shouldn't get new features, but that's a bug fix. Anyway, so yes, update. It's recommended. That's it. I think that's it with announcements. One thing I wanted to mention is that well, you probably have seen the video that we shipped with Blender on this same channel, so you probably seen it. Awesome video by Jonathan Lampel from CG Cookie that shares everything that was almost everything that it was covered, because it's a lot, in 13 minutes. Super nice and super to the point. So as a thank you to CG Cookie, and also to advertise, if you are in the US or near the US, around 13-14 of April, there's the Blender conference in North America, beaconna.org, where you can get more information. There is already, I think, confirmed 188 attendees. Some of them you already know, and some of them you will meet. That is it. It's very soon, actually, less than what, 3 weeks? Gee. All right, that's it. Oh, no, well, I didn't mean to go into the DevFund website, but I just happened to be here, so never mind. Let's go back to what is now. You already know what's new in Blender 5.1. I'm not gonna be sharing more things, but if you haven't seen this page, please have a look, because it takes a lot of time to make, and I think it shows features in a slightly different way. So I think it's worth it. This splash screen, by the way, is available in download, demo files, then splash screen. So just scroll a little bit and you'll find 5.1 singularities, around 670 megabytes compressed. Might be a bit more because of all the caches and geometry nodes. So if you want to learn how this image was made, download the blend file. It's available for everyone. Then what else? If you haven't seen the release notes, there is this file by Cartesian Caramel and this other one by Andy Goralczyk made the original one. Actually, I think it should be somewhere here. the original one from Cycles. The new changes there, I think, right, rendering, there you go. So the new changes is that this is using the raycast node, the new raycast node, to make this kind of outline to the entire scene. So for NPR, like I was looking at the social media, some people posting crazy NPR setups with Cycles, and even some of them going as far as saying like Cycles is the future of NPR, not Eevee. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting because of all the flexibility. So what do you think? All right, let's see what else. That's it. That's everything that is new in the Blender community. Let's talk about what is new in Blender today. Animation. Well, if you're new here, I go through 488 commits, but I don't read all of them. Some of them I have them highlighted, and I will show what's new in the last couple of weeks. I usually do this on Tuesdays. Today is Friday, but just because I don't want to wait another 2 weeks. So the first change is by a user, I cannot read the name, but is an optimization, and they're always welcome. Oh, Ilya. It's just the name in the commit log is strange. So parallelized check of existing keyframe. What does this mean? Well, in some cases, when you have an anime in this test file with high bone count armature, what used to take 1.23 milliseconds, now it's 0.6 milliseconds, 0.62. So this is used to display the font of the selected object in a different color, which is keyed to the current frame. Since that is checked during playback, the playback speed improves. So playback improvements, super nice. I'm glad that many people that are trying 5.1 are recognizing the value of the quality project and the quality of life improvements, and that's super nice. And this is more of this. So I think today we're also going to see some of the quality of life fixes and tweaks that are going to make 5.2 also a good candidate for quality of life. Okay, next. Let's see. When convert to correct rotation when applying post. This is a bug fix, but it's good to know as a PSA, like public service announcement, that now when you apply a post library that had a different type of rotation, and Euler or quaternions, now it should work. So if you were running into this, like this person a year ago when they reported the issue, it has been fixed. And this is a new feature. So feature is allow pre-roll. This adds an explicit option to allow pre-roll. When enabled, this allows playback of frames before the current playback frame range. Before, in this case, depends on the playback direction. So basically, it's, instead of starting from specific frame, starts before. To simplify the explanation, I will ignore playing in reverse. With the option enabled, playing back from before the playback range start is allowed. So it's allowed. So if you are in frame, okay, I think I know what this means. So if my frame is 50, my started frame is 50, and then I playback starts from 50 actually. And this option should be under playback. Let's see, playback. Allow pre-roll is gonna, nice. It starts from wherever I have the keyframe. Nice. Okay, that's cool. This goes well with the recent loop animation improvements. Next, we have in the section attributes, A4 attributes. There is only one change. Well, there's two changes. One that is more relevant in our case. I think it's a optimization when mixing in some cases. So this is mixing attributes. So in this case, when mixing, for example, places like merge by distance, adding curves and merging layers, now this should improve performance around 18%. The results also depend heavily on the attribute types. So mixing group sizes and use case. So yeah. Cool. Bench. So thank you, Hans, and thank you, Christoph, for the previous ones. And Ilya. Let's continue. There is a benchmark. That is not the benchmark. By the way, speaking of benchmark, the Open Data Benchmark website is now now has the 8. Well, by default it shows 5.0, but the version available should go up to 5.1. But it's not the default yet when you land on the website because this hasn't been updated to the latest. There are not enough benchmarks in the latest Blender version, so but still you can see some cool results already. I am curious when here 5090 already 16,000. That's a lot. However, the M5 Max is not too I mean, it's super expensive, but it's half a 5090 on a laptop. So good for you, Apple. Not bad. I mean, I would never imagine that Apple would get that close to like, I mean, a 4090 is what, 11,000, 13,000? Yeah, 11,000 or so. So the M5 chips are really flying like crazy. And I don't know if you look at Blender M5 Apple benchmark, or like, I think maybe because I'm in this loop, but there's many people making these videos comparing how the M5 Max Apple works with, again, advertisement, but anyway, works with compared to other systems. And there's many people doing these tests, and more people are using Blender to test this. Even the new MacBook Neo, people have tested it, and that's interesting. Okay, next. BLI, no. Build, no. Cleanup, no. And CMake, no. Lots of changes in the way fixes actually in how to in the compilation of Blender. Color management, this is a new feature. So color management, add camera input color spaces. This is a new contribution by Siva Priya that adds a camera input spaces from the OpenColor.io config ACES 4.0. 4.0, where is that? I guess it's the version of it, because OpenColor is like in 2 point something, and then ACES also is in 2.0. So this 4.0, I guess, is the config itself. These are organized in the input menu per camera vendor. No way. Let's see Blender. So export is this? No, this is color management. So it should be under render, color management, display, working space. Is it workspace? Input color space. Interesting. Or maybe I don't have this. Oh yeah, input. So you can, well, this is a spoiler of another feature that I will show later, but now the working space color spaces are in, why does it look this weird? Oh, I found a bug. Yeah, so the first menu looks fine and the second one looks like the padding is missing. So okay, this is broken, but you can now access these in a very nice menu that is easier to find. So it's good to see. Why does it open this way? I wanted to open the other way. Or maybe because, there you go. So Ari, Apple, Blackmagic Design, Canon, DJI, Film, Panasonic, Red, Sony. That's cool. So you can match your camera to Blender now. Or the other way around. How's the chat going, by the way? I'm here, I'm reading. Tempting to upgrade the M5. Good to see you. Super Hive is not associated with Blender Foundation. No, it's not. It's an independent. That's why also they renamed the Blender Market to even make it more clear that they're not a related to Blender. It's its own thing. Okay, next, where are we? Compositor. Compositor has plenty of changes, and some of them you are familiar with because the integration of the compositor with the rest of the, well, some years ago, this project of unifying the node systems started, and you can see it a release on release. And what we're going to talk about today is the compositor getting support for socket types and nodes that are available in other systems. In this case, we have the integer vector socket. So this is a 2D integer vector, basically, that it makes things a bit more clear, more efficient as well. I think this commit is only implementation, and the second one is actually using it. So in this case, the image coordinates, pixel output, the image info, dimensions and resolution, and the nearest pixel of the mask to SDF is a 2D an integer vector. So cool. What else? This is a feature. This is the addition of the minimum and maximum output levels to the levels output sockets to the levels node. This was by Habib, so making it easy to get what is the maximum point and minimum of your image. Super nice for color grading. Then more sockets supported. Matrix sockets are now supported in the compositor, although they're not used yet until, yes, until the next, okay, let's see more sockets that were added. This commit by Omar adds the following sockets to the compositor. Object, so you can have an object node, for example. Image, wait, image wasn't there. Oh, no, the image data block. Font data block, which is recent actually, is new in 5.1. Scene, text, and mask. They are not yet exposed to the user. However, I think they will be soon. Well, actually, 2 new nodes have been added to the compositor. Maybe you're familiar with them. Active camera and camera info. 2 nodes that are already used in other places, in geometry nodes. Now you can access the active camera for compositing. What is the... I'm trying to think some workflows where you would use that. Like if you want to maybe to calculate distance to render something that is, because you can get the depth from the camera. Let's look at the node itself. Just curious. We're not gonna make anything too complex here because it's gonna take some time, but I'm curious at how is the camera info. Oh, it's everything. Projection matrix, focal length, sensor, shift, clip start and end, focus distance, and if it's orthographic or not, and the scale of the orthographic camera. Through line thickness or something, says Shiroi. Yeah, that could be, yeah. Indeed. NPR stuff. Awesome. Good point. What else do we have? Matrix math nodes have imported from geometry nodes to the compositor. This includes, well, I guess, includes all these nodes. Combine matrix, determinant, invert, multiply, project point, separate. All the ones that you know and love, they're here. Input object node has been added. This is a new node, also from geometry nodes, that allows you to plug in. I wish there was a screenshot, even though we know how it looks. Basically, you can just go to Blender, add a object, and it just looks like this. There's not much to it, but it's nice for context when you have a screenshot. And Quackaroni added a new feature that allows to create new masks from the mask node. Currently, the mask node only has the ability to select from existing masks. And oh, that's so nice. Not only it fixes this awkward size of the button, but it works. Attempting to add a new mask to the layout results in set operator being grayed out, as it is currently doesn't have the ability to assign a new mask. to a template ID button. This patch creates the necessary plumbing to enable that, allowing for mask new to be called. So this is awesome. We have Quackaruni once again to the rescue. You can create a new one. And yeah, you need to make it wider to actually see what is in there. But this is awesome. So thank you, Quackaruni, for your contributions. What else? Let's switch to C for cycles. This is a bug fix that tackles issues going back all the way to 2020, I believe, right? This is, yeah, 2020. So the fix is the following. Cycles smoothly blend denoising features to avoid artifacts. The albedo and normal denoising features past use several hard cutoff that lead to discontinuities in the passes. Now use smooth transitions instead. So I guess the bug reports are going to have some pictures. Okay, so bad, good. So transitions when using the denoise passes and denoise normal and data albedo. Cool, good to see it fixed. So this is by Brecht. Thank you, Brecht. Next one, fix orthographic camera motion and motion path toggle. This is a fix by Patrick from NVIDIA, but it's a fix in cycle, so it's for everyone. Implementing viewport denoising that uses motion vectors as input unearthed some issues. Objects will never get motion loaded, and the motion vectors projection cameras were broken when the motion path is enabled. Good to see this working. And it's good to see it mentioned because Patrick is the one working in something that everyone, almost every other comment on 5.1 were asking for, which is NVIDIA DLSS. I think it's public the reasons why this is not possible to add so easily, mainly licensing, but yeah, it's cool that they are fixing other parts of cycles to make sure that this gets improved and work and supported. At least even if the licensing issues can be discussed separately. At least the tech is there. Next, well, this is not a feature yet. This is under the hood changes, but it's mentioned a feature that many people are requesting for decades, basically since cycles came out in 2011. This feature is under construction, but the feature is called texture cache. Texture cache basically allows you to render, I think I mentioned in the past here, basically you have this object and you has a 8K texture, but you're only seeing a little piece of it. So you don't need to render the 8K texture here. Well, that is texture caching, basically mip mapping in a way that cycles can automatically use a lower resolution version of this when it's far away. That way you save tons of memory. And that is something that people request and is being worked on. It's probably one of the big features of 5.2. Let's see. I'm gonna sneeze. No? Oh, what a feeling when you try to sneeze and it doesn't happen. All right, Eevee is the next one in line. Many changes under the hood to port effects and shaders from GLSL to BSL, Blender Shading Language. You will see this often in the coming months. BSL is a Blender Shading Language. It's basically a translation layer between GLSL shaders and the devices that are going to use it. So that way you only write one shader once in BSL, the Blender Shading Language, and then that can be translated automatically, compiled for Vulkan and OpenGL and Metal and like all the other places. Let's see. Fixes, so many fixes. So many, I can't even list them here. there was even a fix for a feature that broke halfway the release and it was reverted. But okay, once we reach here, we're gonna go after the fixes. We will go into geometry nodes. All the changes in geometry nodes in the past few weeks are relevant to be mentioned. So let's start with a new option in the find in string node that allows you to get the results, but not from the beginning to the end, like from left to right, but the other way around, from the last to the first element. This is a new socket called from start from end, basically. Super simple, but gets the job done, allows you to get the first occurrence of a string, but from the end, all the way from the end. Next, there is a mix more socket values in bakes. This is by Hans. When interpolating between baked frames, previously only geometries and attributes will be mixed. Now the code handles lists and bundle items. Nice. Then next, well, actually in the last, was it the last episode or 2 episodes ago, that I mentioned that the set curve order node was confusing because it would only work on nerves. And it would complain if you used any kind of curve that wasn't a nerve, like a regular curve, a polycurve, a whatever curve. So the name is now set nerves order. Yes, nice. Thank you, people, for listening. Even though I should have mentioned it. Oh, I mentioned. Even though I mentioned this on the live stream and I should have gone to the task, but I missed it actually. I didn't see it. And Roman again added a new node called set nerves weight. It adds a dedicated node to set the weights of nerves control points. The pull request has this very beautiful screenshot, curves, selection, and weight, these 3 fields, and when you adjust it, basically sets a weight. This is a random value adjusted to the curve weight. The screenshot still says set curve weight, but I bet it's now set nerves weight. Let's see. Next, a new experimental node, but I think it's only experimental because of lists. So this is also from Jack. This one, it's a new node that allows you to split a string using a separator. So if you have comma separated values, for example, from a CSV file, although in the CSV you can actually specify that yourself, but in this one you basically just give it a string and give it a separator, for example, dot, dash, line, slash for paths, for example, and this will output a list. But because lists are still experimental, although they will soon, I think, are going to come out of experimental, you have to enable to access this node. You have to go under interface, experimental. This is only going to show up in the alpha builds and daily builds. Then you go geometry nodes lists, and this will show up there. Awesome. Next, what is this? New trim string node, another new node, also by Jack. This one allows you to trim a string. It removes specific characters at the beginning or and the end of a string. Most often this is used to remove unnecessary white spaces, but it can be used with other characters too. Oh, you can actually specify white space if it's at the start and the end. Nice. Oh, you can even see it in the viewer. That's so cool. Yeah, nice. A, B, C, D, A, and then it removes the first and the second. Only from the end, but if it was set from the start, it will show like that. Neat. Okay. After that, this is all geometry nodes. We can go to, well, one thing, Gitty, that I wanted to mention, because it is a bit of a controversial topic, but I want you to listen why it's not. So, well, first the commit. Gitty, add contributor agreement status check for PR. So the when you contribute code to open source, usually some projects have what they call a contributor license agreement. So basically need to sign a license agreeing to give all your code, because in case you want to run into legal issues. So that is how usually it is done in other open source projects, in most open source projects, I would say, that have this kind of contributor license agreement. At Blender, there has been for a while, for many years now, this agreement that was not, you didn't have to sign it, but it was agreed, it was there out there, that it's the opposite. So you don't have to sign to give your rights away to a company. It's the other way around. If you, like, the moment you commit something, you keep the rights of your code. So I've added a bunch of changes to Blender, like Quaccaruni added changes, and Roman and many people from the community who are not Blender employees have contributed code to Blender. And the Blender contributor agreement implies that unless you specifically say, I want to give all this code to Blender Foundation, by default, all the code is yours. You are the owner of that little piece of Blender. That's what makes Blender so strong against, people wanting one day to buy it or whatever. That is nearly impossible because most of the code is owned by its contributors. That is so awesome. Anyways, so recently this contributor agreement is you need to sign it. When you make a PR, you need to sign it. Basically just check I agree in the settings of the Git website. But you already are familiar with it. So corporates have a different agreement, but basically the same. And the other one, so the agreement itself, you can read it. What is it? In Git, is this the patch? Well, somewhere over here is in there was a link to the dev talk agreement. That maybe it's in the pull request. It's on dev talk. It's not on dev talk. Anyway, it basically says that you agree to I think it's in my settings, but I don't want to go into my site settings. But you will see it's a bit of text that says basically that the code that you are providing is yours unless you specifically said, hey, Blender Foundation, I want to give this to you. Why would you do that? Well, it could happen that the code that you contribute, and also by the way, when you sign that, you agree that the code that you're contributing is yours, as in you made it, you wrote most of it at least. So it's just basically so you don't commit other people's code. Makes sense, right? So when would you like to give this code away to Blender Foundation, say? Well, that could happen, for example, if you don't want to have any legal bindings with them, or your company doesn't let you, or whatever. You just give all the rights to the Blender Foundation, and they're kept as free as Blender. But by default, it's all yours. So nothing has changed really. I just wanted to mention because, every time you see signing things, people go crazy. Let's see. GLTF. There is a couple of changes in GLTF. Manage KHR attributes in primitives. Well, these are some attributes that are officially managed by Kronos, and this will be useful for things like Gaussian splatting support. Splatting. Nice. And I'm frozen. Yeah, the camera froze. What happened? Yeah, I have frozen. What is it? Let me go check the camera. Oh. Interesting. So that's weird because I have let's Switch. Hello, this is a shitty or crappy camera. And let's see if I restart this. No, it's not working. Interesting. Okay, maybe I'll have to switch to the backup. So let's try to turn on the backup. I don't know what might have happened because it is working in the camera itself. So let's switch to the old school way of doing things. So you can see me here. The crappy cam is good. Yeah, I know. It's just that you don't get the depth of field, all the cool stuff, right? Let's see. GLTF point cloud import. Yes, this is kind of big, right? This PR requires a different thing, so you can now import points as point clouds as point primitives and as point cloud objects inside Blender. Native point cloud objects in GLTF. Oh, it came back. No, wait. Yes, it came back, I think. Who knows? Computers, right? Cheers. Let's continue. Sorry about that. But you see, I'm ready. I have a backup. Next, GPU. Many changes, but one that is more relevant than others because it is performance. Always happy to see performance improvements. So this one is shader preprocessing, optimize and clean up implementation. This is kind of huge, actually. Something that used to take, I think this is performance using static shaders. So for 180 megabyte of input data, it's not a lot, which contains 44 million tokens on a single performance core, one core of an M4 Max MacBook Pro. What used to take 1000 milliseconds, this is just for reference, but what used to take 1000 milliseconds and about 180 megabytes per second throughput, now it takes half the time, so 500 milliseconds, 47, and a lot more. I wouldn't say twice, but yeah, of throughput. So everything seems to be faster. So nice. So there's even a split of the 547 milliseconds, what is in there, which parts are there, and this is pretty welcome. Thank you so much, Clement. Because the numbers, I didn't pay attention until I make the release notes, but the release notes of 5.1 Eevee, like, it just looks like a small table here, but it's insane. Have you seen how much faster it is, the cold start? So when you just start for the first time, it's like crazy. It goes from what used to take 55 seconds, now 37, 44 seconds to 30. So nice. 24 seconds to 11 when using Vulkan. Vulkan is the fastest of all. Then comes OpenGL, then comes Metal. Although I think these tests were done on an RTX 6000 and an M1 Ultra. So not a fair comparison there, but yeah, interesting. It's, but people say, what are the Eevee people doing? Why don't we have NPR? Well, they are doing this. They're making Eevee faster before adding new features. Okay, next. G for Grease Pencil. Also, all 4 changes worth mentioning. 1. Draw. Make fields cyclic by default. This change by default makes it that when you're drawing fields, it makes more sense to make the curve cyclic, since it is also what's happening visually. Yes, I totally agree. When using both a stroke and field, this closes the stroke now, which is what is expected by users. Yeah, I always noticed that it was a bit weird. So nice, thank you, Folk. Then Folk and Vivian, the artist here at the Blender Studio, contributed some new icons. So now you can see the stroke mode has these icons that you can recognize more easily. So instead of having these 3 labels that occupy lots of space, now they have this tiny little icons that you only need to get used to it, because yeah, I mean, at a glance maybe it doesn't tell, but you can see that it's a stroke, a fill, and a both basically. Okay, next. SVG and PDF exporter support line join types or corner types. This PR adds support for corner types, or what SVG calls line join, in the SVG and PDF exporter when uniform width is enabled. Because Grease Pencil supports corner type per point, but SVG only supports per stroke, a priority system is used. Nice. The order of priority from lowest to highest is first round, then bevel, then meter. Both exporters already support the corner types when outlining. Neat. All 3 types. Nice. Okay, next. Internationalization. Wait, no. One more. I almost missed this one. This is a quality of life improvement. Have you ever noticed that when using Grease Pencil, as you draw and then you switch to the eraser, like quickly with a shortcut, that eraser will have its own size, and then you go back to the drawing and it's a different size. So it differs what you draw, the brush size for one tool with the other, and that's confusing because when you're using a shortcut to erase, there is no access, no quick access to change the size. If you are in the eraser tool, yes, you press F and you resize it. But if you don't, how do you do it? And now this is unified. When using the eraser with a shortcut from the draw tools, the brush size will match the draw tool for eraser. Nice. Cool. Next. Internationalization. Image buffer changes. What else? By the way, I had adjusted this script to unify some things. For example, if it starts with imbuff and im, I just made it to group it in the same way. Those, by the way, you can find on my, I don't know who would run this, but it's a repo called Parcero in my local version there. And I added this, which is a group. So it's a Parcero Pi, and it basically is so stupid the way it's done. But basically it just makes a list of, okay, cleanup. What are the cleanups? Sometimes there is a typo, sometimes there is clean, sometimes there is make format. Merge, you want to group those, and in this case, image buffer starts with imp or tests, and then I run, and then I just very stupidly, like a monkey, I go, if it starts with that, then group it. So you can use this script if you want to see all the changes that have happened in Blender in the last time, you name it. So you can have the same list that I have if you miss BlenderToday. Okay, M for macOS. Alexander added a new, well, replaced the icons for Blender on macOS when using liquid glass. So now it fits more into the ecosystem basically. So it's the same thing, it's slightly darker, then has these highlights for when you well, if you're on a Mac, or on when you see this on iPhone or an iPad and you move the iPad around, the borders will highlight accordingly because it's made for liquid glass. So yeah, I'm not a huge fan of liquid glass. This looks good, and at least it looks in if you look at it in context, it actually doesn't look too bad compared to other things. Okay, next. M for mesh. 2 changes. 1, a new operator to clear the sculpt face sets. Oh, we didn't have that. No, Arian added a new operator called custom data face sets clear to remove sculpt face set data from a mesh. This provides a direct way to clear the attributes, basically. Neat. So this is how it looks. Oh, a red cursor, interesting. So 30 seconds, so you basically have your face sets, and then you run the operator, I assume. I know it's in the geometry data, so it's just one of those many buttons that violate Blender's design language, but it's fine. It's there. But clear sculpt face sets. Nice. The next is a performance improvement and optimization when splitting edges vert group handling. This is something you do all the time even. So this change on a quick test with a mesh with many vertex groups, this roughly double the performance. So half the time to split edges. Nice. Let's see. Modeling. Support topology symmetry for symmetry snap. Nice. This one by Campbell adds the... So when using symmetry for snapping, now you can use the option use topology, which is something that... Wow, if this is all that was needed. It was hard-coded to be false. Wow. And now it's just a setting that comes from the properties. So use topology is a way to have, it's like a more robust snapping. Sometimes when you can't, because by default symmetry in Blender is very, by default is very basic. So you have a vertex in position x1. Look for the one in -1 on the other side with the negative number, and that's it. But yeah, if you have a mesh that is slightly different position or randomly placed, it's not going to work. That's when you use topology, because it will look at the actual topology, and as long as it matches, no matter where the position of the vertices is, it will work for symmetry snapping. And now this works. So yay. Awesome. Thank you, Campbell. Next, N for Node Wrangler. Add support for integer math to the merge selected operator. So this makes use of the new int sockets. If both nodes have an int socket, it will create an integer math node. If one has an int and the other a value, it will create a regular math node. If one has an integer and the other one unsupported, it will create a math node for the int and will ignore the unsupported type. So cool. Making Node Wrangler wrangle better. Awesome. Thank you, Ido. Next is N for nodes. 4 changes, 4 relevant things to show. The shader, well, this is shader editor actually, not... Yes, so new constant submenu for inputs in shader node editor. This is similar to how it's done in geometry nodes, where you have a constant for Boolean, color, integers, etc. So instead of having a giant long list of all kinds of things, now you have constant for the ones that you expect them to be as such, similar to geometry nodes. So this is super nice. Thank you, Quackaroni, once again. Omar added vector socket in integer vector socket. This we've seen how it's now implemented in Compositor, but this is the addition of the socket itself, which can be shared across other places. And this is Compositor support so far, but I bet someone is already working on implementing it for others. Nodes. Reassign selection when extending the group input or output nodes. Oh, nice. This is quality of life improvement by maybe Quackaroni. The qua part is for quality of life, because he's really working on this a lot lately. So this change is, as you can see here, all the sockets are selected. And when you add a new socket, when you connect a socket to something that is not, that is new, that it didn't exist before there, it highlights it, but it's not, the selection is still confusing. And now when you connect a socket, you will see here that boom, this selects the rest, and it keeps a nice sync selection there. Super nice. Thank you, Quackaroni. And the last one in nodes for also quality of life by Habib, because it makes it so when the math node, when you're using when you drag a socket, you drop the noodle, you start search. When you try to connect, well, because we have so much math nodes and mixed nodes and all that, that sometimes they can be confusing, and sometimes you end up with combinations that they don't even work out of the box. So why even having them? So in this case, Habib went ahead and actually made it more useful. So if you're dragging something, in this case, it will match the type that it was set. So you see, it's 0 by default, multiply by 1 default. So by default, you don't add anything. By default, you multiply by 1. So it doesn't do any effects. So that is the default. You don't do any effect. Although, what's better? Because sometimes I also find that when you're adding a new, you add a blur node, for example, and you add the node, you connect it, and by default, you don't see anything. Is that better? Or would you rather see something? So have like default blur 5, something that's not too heavy. Would that make sense? Does it make sense that when you add a node, you want to see the result or not? That's a big usability, user experience question. Okay. Overlay, nope. Paint, P4 paint. Add support for 3D brush cursor in vertex and weight paint. Nice, little quality of life improvement again. This one is what 3D brush means in this case is that you see the cursor now follows the shape of your 3D object. So when you're drawing vertex paint, the shape of it, which was only happened in other modes, now it happens in vertex paint and in weight paint, which makes it even better for rigging. So you can actually see where the dot is, what is gonna be the mirror vertex on the other side, and you can see if it curves around the shape of your geometry. Super nice. So thank you, Sean, for working on this. Very welcome. Next, we have some Python stuff. Yeah, P for Python. The image buffer, going back to image buffer, is now exposed, and there are actually many changes, so you should check out the list for this. And this is, which I haven't published yet, sorry about that, Blender Community. Am I logged in? I'm not logged in, I think. No. So let me log in. Super secure, double, wow, dual thingy, multi-factor authentication. Here, remember me, yes, thank you. Okay, cool. Now we're back. So RPC icon, what is that? This Discord icon. Who made it? This is a list of right-click select. So sculpt improvement. Yeah, somebody made this. There are some questions already, but I'm gonna edit your post, Daniela Palme, and I will add this. So the YouTube player is broken, I know. I'm sorry. Updating this website it's a lot of work because it's very outdated in many libraries, so it's a bit of a pain to update, but I added all the changes that I'm talking about today in the thread. Let's go back to see what's new before we continue. But basically what I wanted to mention is that there are many additions and changes to the image buffer method in Python, in the Python API. For example, write to buffer for in-memory image encoding, or exposing the non-image type by default. Anyways, refactors, releases, reversions, RNA, and S for SCULPT, the title of today's show. So let's see. One of the isn't it crazy that Blender 5.1 that YouTube, being a Google company, doesn't have search in comments. You cannot search in comments. But anyway, well, there was one of the the comments that was like, yeah, this is great, but can I hide my the pop-up that shows up when you enabled the topo, dynamic topology? And this is the first change that was actually made. So to reply to that user, no, you can't in 5.1, but you will not get bothered by it in 5.2, because now this popover, well, this pop-up that tells you, warning, you're gonna miss some information, it's now a regular notification. So let's see how it looks. Actually, I'm curious because the screenshots sometimes might be outdated. So let's go to sculpt mode and enable the topo. And it says the topo will not preserve facets, colors, UVs, or other attributes. That's fine. So, and then I disable it and I enable it again, and it shows here. You click on it, you can read the whole thing. Topo will not preserve facets, colors, UVs, or other attributes. Okay. I would have written maybe UVs before because it is the most important one. Colors too. Or maybe even shorten it, because you need to, like, facets. I mean, facets are important, but they're also, yeah, I don't know. Well, maybe because you are in the context of, yeah, I don't know. These notifications, I like to keep them short as possible because they might not fit in everybody's screen. So you have to be, you know. No, no. Succinct. Succinct? Is that a... Yeah, that's a word. In Spanish it is. When you want to say in few words as much as possible. Sculpt. Warn and prevent sculpting when shape keys are muted. So nice. Also quality of life. When you have a shape key that is muted and you try to sculpt on it, Blender will just see you fail and do nothing about it. And now it's actually going to tell you, hey, you have your... Yeah, it's going to warn you basically. And prevent users from sculpting on things that are muted. So thank you, Sean Kim, for this. So cool. Next, add primitive tools defaults. So last episode, we've seen the primitive options added to the sculpt mode. And now we see these tool defaults. What are the defaults? Well, things that didn't have there before. So let's look at the video. Bit.mov, and this is how it looks basically. You have some defaults. Nice. In edit mode even. Nice. Imagine when we can edit the values of it even after blinking. So nice. So yeah, awesome. And this one is thanks to Kunal Kashyap. Thank you. It's a continuation of the adding object tools for sculpt mode, which was started. So this task. So add faces support for object tools. Nice design by Julian Kasper. It's good to see people grabbing those designs and just implementing them from the community. Next, Scene Project Brush. Someone in the chat today, I was tempted to tell you, somebody was asking about it. Yeah, Shiroi Akuma-sama mentioned, hey, Scene Project Brush incoming? Yes. Yep. There is this new brush called Scene Project that allows you to do things like this. You know, when you're copying from one paper, or you just have a sheet of paper and you want to copy something, or remember when you, well, I would do that as a kid. I would get a coin, and you remember coins, and then I will have a paper on top and then draw with a pen to copy the shape. This is what it does. Basically, it projects the mesh that you have onto the rest of the scene. That's why it's called Scene Project, which is a bit confusing for a name, but that's how it works. So cool. And there is another example too. It's like a kind of a shrink wrapping on demand. So this is, you have this, let's sculpt what. Okay, that's cool. Did you blink and missed it? Shrink wrap watching from the corner. Did you? That's so cool. There you go. So now you can make armor. Unrealistic armor. This is so cool. Well, clothing. So many. That's so nice. Yes. This has so many use cases. Huh. What are your use cases here? So this was implemented by Nicola Desi, and the milestone was 5.2, and it happened to ray direction, view normal and plane normal. So if you have scene project, and you can project direction is the view normal or the plane normal. And actually right after, a new asset was added, a new essential brush asset for the recently introduced scene project brush, which makes it so you can copy this asset, duplicate, and make your own. This is awesome. Clothing stuff, yes, for sure. Shrink wrap would, what was it? Would have made it flat. Yeah. Or unless you do some kind of, yeah, like, no, not even. No, there's no way to project it. Indeed, shrink wrap would have made it wrong, even if you use some kind of lattice trick there. Okay, not bad. Thank you, Nicola and Sean. Next, improve color filter quick fill behavior by Lavnish Pandey. So many user contributions, community contributions lately. This one is improve color filter quick behavior. So we can actually see it in action over here. This commit makes the following changes to the sculpt filter tool. Fill uses the active brush or unified paint color depending on the current active tool. Makes sense. Clicking and releasing without dragging applies the current primary color, so in this case red, and the current strength. If you hold Control while doing it, it will use the other color, so blue in this case. Dragging to dial in the fill is still supported. That's so nice. So do you get the explanation? I'm bad at explaining, but it seems that now when you're using the fill tool, you can click once and it will copy the first color. In this case red, but it has a 50% strength, so that's why it doesn't look full red. Then if you do Control click, it will apply the other color, in case the blue at 50%, which makes it purple. And then if you want to dial how much you want one or the other, you can click drag. So cool. I think the click drag, it's missing feedback. Click drag could actually bring up the same slider operator that the animators use. That would be neat. I'm gonna leave this tab open. Maybe I can mention that. Awesome. Thank you, Lavnish Panty. Next, add set vertex color entry into the sculpt menu dropdown. It wasn't there? No? Huh. So set vertex color wasn't there before. In the sculpt menu dropdown, it was in other places, I guess. Huh? Small thing, really, it's just Python, even. Okay, next, actually, shrink wrap has its own section. They've been listening. This is a change for performance. So should help to resolve some performance bottlenecks I noticed when profiling the 5.1 splash screen file that I mentioned earlier, where too high thresholds for enabling threading cause most threads to wait on a single thread. Nice. So better performance for the shrink wrap modifier to kick in the multi-threading. Nice. Let's see if T for transform. Use a model keymap and show status bar for look at surface. This operator that I demoed the other day that I show. Now when you use it like Shift T, the toolbar, the status bar, gonna show you some relevant information. U4UNI, user interface. Also quality of life improvement. Have you ever tried to paste an X color, so hexadecimal color, so FF00FF, into the color widget in Blender, and it would fail miserably because Blender always expected to have four values, a vector of four. RGB alpha. Not anymore. Now you can, well, yes, but it would also support copy pasting hex values. So if you notice here, select color, you copy, mouse over, copy these values, hex, and then you can paste this everywhere you want. Nice. This was actually from right click select, was one of the requests. So neat. What is that Discord thing? I'm curious. Discord RPC for Blender has worked for everyone for a long with the Steam version, but it currently has no icon. What is that? It's not an official Blender thing, as far as I know. I would love if it was changed to the actual Discord RPC. What is an RPC? Well, I don't know. But I don't know how do we even have control over that. Next. Save modified image dialogues when saving a blend file. Quality of life, do not lose your data. Isn't that great? When blend files are saved, a new dialog option will pop up if there are modified images, asking the user if they would like to also save the modified images. This pop-up, actually, this option would show up when you were trying to close Blender, and it would ask you, hey, do you want to save your changes? Now also is on save. Isn't that awesome? So thank you, Tomison, for working on this. This feature prevents data loss since it notifies the user that there are unsaved textures. Gives them a quick and easy way to save all the image textures when saving the blend file. How does it look? I guess it looks similar to the other one. Let's see. So I save the image, and then you edit the images, and then you save. And where is the pop-up? Where is the pop-up? Save one modified image. Yeah, say similar, exactly the same really as the other one. Images are not automatically saved with the file. I don't know if I like this, because no, the dialog name first is a statement. Usually these are questions. So it's missing the question, which is save file, because the action is called save file, but what you're doing is save one modified image. No, this is missing the title. It should be save file, and then this is a warning, and this is the action you can do, and this will be save file. And this could even change name, save file and images, something like that, when this setting is enabled. Yes, another thing that I missed. I'm gonna leave the tab open. Next. Subdirectory support for menu path. Quackaruni made the long menu that was in the templates for Python templates for the script template, the text editor, now into submenus. So no longer a huge list, just some menus. Next. Python, hide most core add-ons. Yeah, so the add-ons that are built in Blender, yeah, people are not meant to be messing with them. They're functionality that happens to be an add-on, but they're built in Blender. So now they're gonna be hidden by default. They should show up when you're using developer extras maybe though. I don't know if they're always hidden. So the ones that are hidden are BL extensions, I guess. Animation BVH, Curve SVG, Mesh UV Layout, and FBX. The old FBX. Add copy constraints to Control L. Link transfer data menu. Add a way to copy the constraints to the link transfer data menu, Control L, by adding an item underneath copy modifiers. This is amazing. Copy constraints to the selected objects. Now this is also in the link transfer. So cool. Thank you. Quality of life improvement also. Thank you, Jackson. Next, add icon name in the tooltips when developer extras is okay. So this is very niche. But have you ever wondered if you are an add-on developer? Maybe you have. Have you ever wondered what icon is this one or this one over here, or well, basically any icon in the widgets? Blender has a name for these icons, and when you're developing, you want to know that. So now when you have developer extras enabled in the preferences, you can mouse over anywhere and Blender will say icon scene, icon collection, group, object data, and so on and so forth. That's it. Very, very niche. This is not niche. Icons, to add icons to the set parent menu. So have you ever noticed how the set parent menu is very, has a lot of text, and you have to read and take the time to read each one of the items, and it's hard to, because there is no separators, it's hard to read here. So this guy added these icons. I saw this on a YouTube video, on a tutorial, and I thought this could improve because I noticed the artist was spending way too much time trying to read this list. So object, show the object icon, armature and bone. Then there is also curves, lattice, vertex. So the ones that are most used, as in most relevant, they're the ones that make sense to have icons. Now I have icons. Small thing. Gray out and add tool. This is not a small thing. It's small but huge. Quackaroni added these. Well, didn't add anything, but made the color ramp indicators of something that is not possible a bit more smart. So when there are no items to remove, now the button is grayed out. Before it was just, yeah, which just let you try to keep removing things. These items also are grayed out to know that there's not enough items to perform such action. So this is so convenient. When things can be used, they will be regular color, otherwise grayed out. I love those small things, are what make a UI easy to really understand. It saves you time. Instead of just trying to delete, the thing is already grayed out. You're not going to click there. Next, color management. Organize color spaces into menus by Mark Buder. This I mentioned earlier already, but basically adds a bunch of submenus so you can choose the color space and not get lost in the ginormous list, which is going to continue growing. So good to see it tackled. Next. Show linked overridden asset state icons in the data block enum selector. So this was from a bug report. Now, when you're searching in a data block, you will see if the data block is the original one, or if it's linked, or if it's a if it's coming from override. So it has the override icon slashed. It's okay. It's better than nothing. It didn't have a nothing before. But I think we need something else here. I think we need a combination of them, because this is a collection asset. So, but these are also collections, but you don't know anymore that it's a collection. So I think we can use, I mean, we use this all in other places, but basically the icon for the data and the state could be on the right hand side. But this is something that went into, I think even went into 5.1, because it's a small thing, it's very harmless, and it helps on user accessibility and usability. So that one is I think the last one that managed to get into 5.1. Super late. Next, by Harley, improve CJK. So Korean, Japanese, no, Chinese, Japanese, Korean. In Spanish, Korea is with C, that's why. we cache the Unicode. I don't know. Anyway, we cache the Unicode range coverage for each of the fonts we distribute so we can find the right one. Neat. So it improves the coverage for some values that were not possible before. Fix area snapping above with playback controls. Yeah, there was a bug when trying to snap the playback controls when you had them flip to the top. That has been fixed by Harley. Nice. Guillermo Venegas added a new widget type. We don't see that often. A new widget type that is used for links to show links in the UI, in the user interface. So it's very common to point to websites sometimes, and it's not. Let me see if I can show it here. So it's common to point to websites, and so far we were using the regular buttons without being able to tell them apart. It's a button. It looks like an operator. We had to use icons to make it clear that it's going to go to a website. But now, not anymore. Now this has a new color, which is blue. You can customize it, of course, but it's gonna make them stand out so you know that it's a link to a website before clicking, or without the need of a you hear my voice strained. Yes, I'm getting close to the end and my voice knows it. And it's Friday too. Okay, next. What was it? By the way, later. So link button is a new thing. Go check it out. If you have add-ons that link to websites that have URLs, you can use it. It's the way you use it is .link instead of .prop for properties, .op for operators, .operator. This is .link basically. Next, fix vertical jiggling on. I just wanted to give a shout out to Nasir Galimov because it's a small thing that makes the UI a lot more. Like, check out how this column flickers when being scaled. Is like, and that no longer is the case. Now it looks stable. So thank you, Nasir. And last but not least, it's a small fix to collection exporters. Since Blender 5.1, the panels will remember, sub-panels will remember the close open state, and that was affecting the collection exporters, which made it so, yeah, you will expand one collection exporter and it will expand all the other ones. So that has been fixed. And that's it for the user interface. One more is the add channels, all channels setting in the video sequence editor. This is a new property that makes it so you can snap to more easily to the channels to the strips in the same channel or to all channels. So we can see that better in action. So let's say I have the video editor. I have let's see, I have a text, bunch of text strips, right? Bunch of things. Okay, so now let's say I add my color, right? All right, so if I have snapping on, this will snap to every item. Sometimes can get a bit annoying basically because it is trying to snap to everything. So if I have two strips that are very close together here, it's just not great. However, what if I really wanted to snap it to the same, only looking at the same channel, right? So I only want to snap to these people here. You can do it now when from the popover for snapping. You can disable all channels and this will only use the active channel. So you see, now the snapping ignores all the other channels except this one. So nice. And you can see there is a line drawing that is a bit above the other one, so you can actually see the snapping, but it makes it more clear. So cool. Quality of life improvement once again. And actually with this on, you maybe don't need that much the shuffle mode anymore because you can be more sloppy and snap it to the same channel without having to tackle this or using the shuffle one. So yeah, I really like this feature. So thank you, John, for working on this. And last but not least, the XR VR virtual reality in Blender has a new feature thanks to, well, it's a fix and a feature by Jonas. This addresses an issue with the VR scene inspection where the current small values of a controller dead zone threshold is often the source of action mistriggers and general user confusion. So this has been tackled. So for joysticks, you have this threshold 0.65, for triggers 0.5. If you have any feedback with this, please leave them in the task or reach out in the chat for XR. Okay, that is all for this week. Let's look at if there is any questions. I think there were already some questions in in this place. There's nine questions. Maybe I managed to answer them all before I ran out of voice. Let's scroll all the way down and start. All right. WPH4 says, "Hi Pablo, I always enjoy watching your show. Thank you. I don't know if you're much of a gamer, but have you ever checked out No Man's Sky and the Blender-based Builder plugin?" No, actually I haven't. I am currently playing Tears of the Kingdom, so Zelda, and No Man's Sky is, people have been recommended it, but I haven't played it yet. There is a base builder plugin for Blender. Interesting. 4,000 people downloaded, 200 endorsements. Nice. I didn't even know this existed. Love it. Nice. I will mention this to maybe someone here in the team plays the game. Thank you. Next, hi Pablo, nice to see you. Nice to see you. I was wondering, since we are going for node-based tool for Blender, what if we could have a mode for geometry nodes that are similar to edit mode, but for geometry node? Wait. Well, what if we could have a mode for geometry nodes that are similar to edit mode, but for geometry node? Like the viewer, basically, like a preview. Maybe I'm too tired to understand. But I think that it wouldn't be a new node. I think edit mode, if it detects geometry node, it would just allow you to be smart with this. But yeah, sounds like something we want. But I don't know if it's a new node or just something generally want. Next question. Hi Pablo, says John. Would you consider adding Jeremy's H use auto remeasure and fully support it and improve it for users? I don't know what. Well, I guess it's a remeasure. Is it open source? Is it? I don't actually. I'm not familiar with it. So link, please, license, and when these things come out, it's better for the community to take the initiative, because otherwise it is not very well, I don't know, seen. If someone from Blender, I guess that's an add-on. I guess it's commercial. Grab something and then try to implement it. So, but if the community discuss, maybe this person doesn't maintain the add-on anymore and it's fine with integrating it natively, maybe yes. Hello Pablo, I'm finally giving a lot of time to geometry nodes, and I found out that it's not possible to create nodes with Python. Are there plans to add this feature? Script nodes, yeah, no. It's, well, there are big issues with it, but I don't think it's planned in the nearby time. Yolan Auskies says, "Hola Pablo desde Breda. A few questions." Yeah, Yolan Auskies for you today. 1. Blender defaults files like the base humanoids and studio stuff are a bit hard to find throughout the website. I suggest bringing these free resources to the forefront. How? Please. We try our best. We do what we can. Like actually, the training for the training for example here, the advanced training page on the studio website, we worked on it last week with Francesco, and we came up with this. So every training page now has this landing video, title description, much easier to see. Then the chapters, 11 chapters, 55 videos, almost 7 hours, and then the price. Of course, if you are logged in, you don't see this. If you are if you have a subscription already, you don't see it, and you see the tree directly to see the, for example, here, curve principle for hair. And then you have this video where you can see. Have you seen this training, by the way? So super detailed. Like if you know anyone that is wanting to get into rigging, facial rigging, advanced facial rigging, this is the most up-to-date and I think thorough tutorial out there for this. So let me share this with you. Let's see. Anyway, so yeah, this is what we're doing. We're trying to make it a bit more approachable, and at the end of the landing page you have the content overview, so you can still see everything that is available in the course. But yeah, it's pretty cheap if you think about it. It's 17 per month. It costs, like if you watch this in 1 month, it costs, like these rigging courses can cost 50, 60, 100. But yeah, we're welcome to ideas to how to promote content more. It's just hard to see sometimes when you're inside, from insider perspective, what I mean. But please share maybe a mock-up or ideas, or maybe share websites that have these kind of things that you would like to see, because I don't consume tutorials, so I don't know exactly what are these other pages having that we could implement in the studio website. Thank you. Second question. The extensions platform works amazing, but it feels like many users and developers are missing out on it. What does Blender need to make to the platform to make the platform more visible, or make the approval process happen faster? Well, the extensions platform, it's I mean, it's built in Blender, right? That's the biggest visibility you can get. When in the release notes, I even mentioned that in the list. So if you look at extensions, I even mentioned expand your Blender, browse extensions, upload your extensions. So I don't know what else we need to do. Maybe next to the download page. I think I even added it to the download page, no? Blender.org, download extensions. Yeah, I even mentioned here extensions. So we are trying. We're trying. Let's see. Next question. And make the approval faster. Anyone can make the approval faster. Like the approval queue, everyone is welcome to contribute and help their time to come here and then see, okay, you can leave a comment. You can say, this works, this doesn't work. You can help with reviewing. Of course, someone from the team is going to approve or cancel or reject an extension, but you can help at testing. If you're working on GeoNodes and you change the default value of a parameter, it doesn't update on the modifier. This is super annoying when working on an effect because nothing changes. Is this intentional? Am I going wrong somewhere? And the thing is that the modifier has its own thing, right? It's not the node itself. It's exposed somewhere else, right? So the value doesn't apply elsewhere, I think. But in case in doubt, when you're in doubt, please report the bug, because that's how you find out if it's something that can be fixed. Maybe someone from the team looks it up, and it's like, oh, actually it wasn't that. It was missing only this one thing. Next, did you see Cartesian Caramel just made a whole baker with geometry nodes and Ray Portal? No, I didn't see this. What is? Oh, advertisements. So bad, but actually I think I have the ad blocker, no? I disabled it, that's why. Go all the way. 1 hour stream, a baker using geometry nodes and Raycat. What? So kind of like a wow, this is amazing. Like the first steps into a little substance workflow, no? Okay. So maybe Blender doesn't need this. Oh no, it needs, of course. But it's so cool to see the pieces coming together actually for this. Because I was thinking like when you're using these softwares like Quixel Mixer or Substance, or even you have layers of textures, right? And these textures have blending modes or so, or they have even like generators that you can get the I don't know, the outline, right? The edge for doing some edge wearing, for example. Those are nodes, right? You could just use nodes. And the more you think about it, it's like it's just seems like Blender needs some kind of UI mostly to try to expose these nodes. There will be a lot of tweaking to expose the settings, but it seems like each layer could be made of the nodes that are already there, combining geometry nodes, shader nodes, and it seems to have all the pieces, almost all the pieces, and needs some kind of UI to glue them all together. So yeah, it's exciting. What's coming? It's exciting. Let's see. Thank you, by the way. I haven't seen this. Paul Pilau says, "Hi Pablo, and thanks for the regular updates. 3 questions. On the topic of sculpt improvements, whatever happened to sculpting layers? They're coming. They're coming. It's not something that is easy to do, and there's one developer working on Sculpt, which is working on the multi-res Sculpt improvement, multi-resolution improvements that first needs to have some issues fixed before adding even more things to it, like layers. But it is in the roadmap eventually. Unfortunately, it's one person. So donate. Thank you. Will we get work on the physics branch and the hair solver for 5.2? Well. I think we are not that far actually from getting this solver in. I say this because 2 nights ago we were talking in Berlin with one of the developers, with Jack Luke, and everything seems to appear that the solver itself is almost done. Most of the work that is left is in making the node groups around it, basically like the node assets that will make, because this solver you can make cloth, soft body, hair, right? You just need to tweak it in different ways. So it's it can do so many things that it just needs these very smart people to make node groups, basically. Let's see. But it's coming. I think it's 5.2 is it's probably what the other big thing, together with texture caching. Nice. Let's see. Do you know what are the next plans for Blender Physics will be after hair dynamics? Will it be a second new solver for fluid simulations, or will they use a new XPV solver? I think the next is just to expand and replace. So hair dynamics, so the old hair dynamics can be replaced. Then I think cloth and soft body would make sense, because those are things that Blender already has, and it makes sense to like make it more built in. Also, cloth, you can do cloth in Blender, but you can't do cloth tearing, for example. That's something that you can do with this solver. Actually, Jack, the developer, has a demo on this already. So I think that will be the next step that makes sense before tackling fluid simulations and all that. Next, Not Known says, "Hi Pablo, have there been any discussions about improving texture painting?" Oh, plenty of discussions, and it's the first topic that keeps coming from the survey in Blender. Basically, what people want the most is, it says girls just want to have fun, Blender artists just want texture painting, areas to focus on, but like if you go here, projects to working on, it's just texturing tools. Okay, next. I remember there was a discussion on one attempt to make brushes consistent. Yeah, it's a big project. It's not, yeah, it's a big project. So that's why it's hard to tackle, because you want to first, before texture painting, okay, first want to do baking. You know, baking in Blender is terrible. And first do baking. Okay, but baking, will you bake like 8K textures? You want to do some kind of texture caching. So that's why texture caching is happening now. It's coming in 5.2. Then baking, the whole making a bakery inside of Blender to structure all this. And then texture painting can also happen. There is a huge project, but it is coming together. Sheldon Shea says, hope you're all well. Question, when are you guys coming to Toronto for a Blender Con or a big Blender event? I know VC Canada has been getting a lot of love, but any plans for you guys try Toronto? Organize a Blender conference, like Beacon NA, it's called Beacon North America, just so, you know, people can make it in other places of North America, not just the US, but Canada, Mexico. That's a goal. And the Beacon Texas is organized by Austin, is organized by CG Cookie, so it separates that. I mean, we do promotion and we have their website running, but the whole organization is them, so anyone can do. Start thinking of a Beacon Toronto. Hello, Pablo. Is there any plans from Blender to open a platform that allows the community to share assets such as geometry nodes, compositor and shader node group assets, just like an extension platform for add-ons? It would be super exciting. Well, this is actually very close to online assets. There will be online assets in the extension platform. The first asset libraries will be the essentials, the one that come with Blender. But the idea in the future is that it could be expanded for anyone to share their assets online. That would be awesome. So it's a big project though. It has so much moderation. What do you do with people sharing copyrighted textures or even worse things? So yeah, it's not easy. But the technology is coming. Actually, for 5.2 there will be online assets too. So actually, now that I think of it, 5.2 is freaking big already. Texture cache, physics, online assets. Nice. Okay, that's it. So I will wrap this up because I'm already kind of talking. It's already 7 p.m. and it's a Friday. So I hope you get to enjoy your weekend. I will try to enjoy mine. Oh, I wanted to mention actually that we were on the FOSS backstage design with the light recently. And texture in texture, sorry for the blinding. Texture, why did I say texture? Conference in Berlin a few days ago, and it was super nice, super fun to see. We were in the design section. We gave a presentation. I don't know if we shared they shared the video yet, or they will share the video. I think they will. But yeah, we presented and talked about using a Blender design system in with PenPod for Blender mockups. So super nice. That's it. I hope you have a great weekend. I know I will. I hope I didn't bore you too much, and I hope you find some fun features that I showed today to play along in the weekend and have a happy blending weekend. So without further ado, let me grab the music, watch your ear holes, because in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you. Gracias. See you next when is that? Tuesday, 31st. Bye. Thank you.